Welcome back to Talking Sports with Brandon. This is the Dallas Cowboys Week 6 recap episode. And Week 6 was a game where we lost to the Eagles 26-17. And I talked about it last week, but this was a game where it was a big game. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If we were to win this game, we'd have the division lead. We'd be 5-1, with already in the tiebreaker between us and the Eagles. We'd already be one up because we'd obviously would have won this game. But like I said, we lost 26-17. I guess the final score makes it a little bit closer than it seemed, or I guess maybe even than it looked. But the first half. I mean, again, I'll talk about it. I'll go into it. But the first half was ugly. Second half was promising, though. It showed me a lot of things about this team that you can really use for these next couple weeks. We played 2 more games than our bye. So I think you could really use that going forward. And so I think that was good. I think that was good to see. At least there was fight in this team. After the first half, we were able to at least make something of a game, made it a 3-point game at one point, and then obviously eventually lost, by 9. But I was definitely down in the first half, no doubt. Second half, though, like I said, I definitely, it showed me something. I didn't expect us to come back and win that game. Now, it seemed like at one point possibly could have, but I wasn't totally expecting it the entire time. But now with Dak coming back, it's Thursday when I'm recording this. He practiced fully on Wednesday. I'm assuming that means he'll probably practice fully today. Haven't seen it yet, but it means that he's going to start for the Lions game, and that was the plan. When he got injured in Week 1, it seemed like he was going to be out a long time. But then when they did, the MRIs and the X-rays and everything, like fully got set, not just like 30 minutes after the game ended, we get a report that he's going to be out for a long time. That it wasn't enough time, didn't do enough, diagnosis and everything like that to really see what the injury was. And it wasn't as bad as it seemed, or as it at least was being talked about in the media right after that opening night game against Tampa Bay. So it always looked like he was going to come back against Detroit, maybe Chicago, or wait for the bye if he did need some extra time. Because again, we did that bye right in the middle of the season. And with the way that the thumb injury worked, it seemed like that was a good spot for him to come back. But, he's able to come back to the Detroit game. And I think it's good. I think it's good that he can come back for 2 games before the bye, get more reps in, get game time in. It's easier opponents in Detroit and Chicago, no doubt. And I think it's good for him to come back into this team where it is right now, because the defense is still playing really lights out. Even though it led up 26 points, it's hard to put a lot of this blame on the defense. You really can't put more than 50% because the offense was not good. But it was just one drive in particular that the defense had to make a stand, and they didn't. And again, I'll go into that. But other than that one drive, I thought they played pretty well for what happened and how the game played out from the opening kickoff. I have to say, I thought the defense played pretty well except for that one drive. But we just need a one stop. But at the same time, you could also see they've been on the field a lot. That game, basically the whole first half, they were on the field the entire time. The second half was more in our favor, no doubt, but the Eagles kind of got away from stuff that they were doing, and then on that one drive, they went back to the stuff that had them up 20-0 in this game at one point, and it just was too much for us to take. But I still like where this team is, and with Dak now coming back, I really don't want the offense to change that much. Again, he's a better passer, he's a better player, he can read defenses better, he has more control of the offense, obviously, but I don't need this team to go back to passing it 40 times a game, 35 times a game, and trying to just kill people through the air. That's not what this team is. We're a running team, and I want to work the play action. And I want to take more shots down the field, of course. I mean, with a better quarterback and a better arm back there, you should take more shots down the field. And there's been some players that may come back. Like James Washington is on his way back into this lineup, so it'll be interesting when he does. I would assume that's probably after the bye he'll come back. That's what it looks like. When he comes back in this lineup, he's a deep ball threat, so I wonder how they'll use him in this offense. I don't know if he starts because you do have Gallup, Lamb, and Brown. So I don't know if he makes that. I don't know if he cracks that rotation, but he'll definitely come in on plays. And every time he's on the field, you're gonna have to know that he's gonna go deep. It's gonna be a deep play possibly. So it's just a threat who's out there. So that's encouraging to see. And again, I just want Dak to be who he is, but play within the offense. He doesn't need to play hero ball every single time. Doesn't need to think that he has to win this game. This defense is top 5 in the NFL, probably even better than top 5. So you can rely on your defense and you can rely on the running game, which was again pretty strong in this game. I mean, 26 for 134. When you're down 20 points basically the whole first half and for a majority of the game, still get 134, 5 yards a carry against a really good front seven. That's really impressive. So there's no doubt that this team is a running team that can throw the ball. And again, when Dak is back, which will be this week, against a really bad Lions defense, they're easily the worst defense in the league. I think that it should just be run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And then that opens up the pass, and then he can get more. He can get more in tune with the offense. He can kind of get a flow going, get a connection going back with these guys. So I'm excited to see what will happen for this upcoming week against the Lions, just to see how the offense does work, and hopefully Kellen Moore doesn't change it. I don't want that. I don't want this offense to just change just because Dak's back. I mean, again, he is a better quarterback, no doubt. And the people who are always talking about Cooper Rush and they're 4-0 without Dak and whatever. It was the defense. I mean, as we saw in this game, you get some pressure on him and you get him down in a game and he has to throw the ball more. He's just not that guy. He's a solid backup. You put him into a good team with a really good defense and a good running attack. He just has to make the plays that he has to make. Once in a while, he'll make a big third down throw or a big touchdown throw. But for the most part, he's kind of just doing what the offense is asking him to do, which wasn't much. So that's this upcoming week, though. We'll go back to this game. So we'll start with we'll just go through the drives like we normally do, but start off pretty basic. Just we punted, they punted, we punted. It didn't look pretty when we had the ball, I got to be honest. But after our second punt, Philly went down 15 plays, 80 yards, 7.5 minutes off the clock, and they got a touchdown. And the way Philly runs their offense is they want to run the ball. And they use the run to incorporate the pass. Now, they do a lot of RPOs, or when they're not doing RPOs, I mean, obviously you could just run an RPO as well, but they were using the threat of their running attack to get their guys open in the secondary, or really, they weren't even taking deep shots. Like, I don't even know what their longest completion air yard wise, not just like he caught it and then ran for another 15 yards. What Jalen Hurts' longest completion was, I don't even really know what it was, but it was not far. They weren't throwing deep balls. They really weren't doing anything. They had a couple like 20-yard plays, definitely, but it wasn't anything like they were like killing us down the field. Again, they rely on the running attack. You have Hurts, Sanders, you have a couple of the guys in that backfield who are good at running the ball. Philly in this game had 136 yards, but it was only 3.5 yards per carry. It wasn't, we had 5 yards per carry, and it was, again, basically the same yardage. So, and Hurts runs the ball. He had 9 carries for only 27 yards. Usually he'll do a little bit better than that. They do that dumb play, which, I mean, it's effective because it works, but it's also such a stupid play where, they need 1 yard or less than a yard, and they just, they pile everyone inside, and they have 2 guys behind them, and they just push them through. So I think he did that maybe 2 or 3 times, and that's, again, you're only getting a yard on that, so that, for this 9 rushes, probably 3 of them were like that, but they didn't kill us on the ground, to be fair. Again, 3.5 yards per carry, that's really not that much against, again, probably a top 5 rushing attack easily. So that was encouraging. I mean, Hurts through the air didn't really do much, and he only had 155 through the air. And we did sack him 4 times as well. So, it wasn't like they were killing us in this game. They didn't dominate it, even though they were up 20-0. It was more just us failing and not, and putting them in a really good position, because they had amazing field position the entire game. I'm not sure exactly what their average field position was, but I can almost guarantee it was probably at least their 40-yard line average, because we did get 2 touchdowns, so obviously sets them back a little bit, but for the most part, they were just on our side of the field, especially the first half. But so that touchdown drive they had, Like I said, 15 plays, 80 yards. That's what they want. They want long plays, long drives. They want a lot of time taken off the clock. And it's a run. It's a 21-yard pass. It's a run. It's an 8-yard pass, incompletion, 5-yard pass. 3rd and 5, we have them. They get 2 yards. They go for it on 4th and 3 at our 38-yard line. They get it for 11 yards. Another run for 9. No yard gain, 2 yards on 3rd and 1. So a couple third down conversions on their part. 1st and 10, we get a sack. 2nd and 12, incompletion. So we're 3rd and 12 at our 12-yard line. And it's, so this is one of the bigger plays. Definitely set the tone early. So it's 3rd and 12, they get 8 yards. So it's 4th and 4. Quarter's ending. There's 8 seconds left in the quarter. It's just winding down. It's a running clock. And 4th and 4 to their 10-yard line. They're not going for it. I mean, they go for it a lot, and they have the offense to do that, but there was no doubt that they were not going to go for this. And for some reason, and again, this is what they were trying to do. They put the offense up there. They knew the clock's running out. It's going to end the quarter. When the quarter comes back in a second, they're just going to kick a field goal, go up 3. For some reason, Dante Fowler decides he sees, they do a motion, and he thinks that they're running the play, and he goes in the neutral zone. So that's automatic first down. It was 4th and 4, so they get 5 yards, first down. Just a stupid play, there was no doubt. I'm watching that live. I think I said it, or was at least thinking it for sure. Just don't jump. They're not running a play, and even if they do, it's 4th and 4. You can stop them, which would have been huge. You get a stop right there, but they were not going to go for it. There was no way they were going to go for it, and he jumped, and then what do you know? The next play they get a 5-yard touchdown. So it would set the tone. You just knew that, it's like you can't make mistakes like that in a game like this on the road in Philly, Sunday Night Football, where you know your offense won't be great in this game. Hasn't been great in the games Cooper Rush has started, but this one especially because it is a really good defense, and you just can't do that. I mean, that's 4 points off the board right there. And again, if they were to go for it on 4th and 4, I think we had a pretty good shot at stopping it. But so they get the touchdown the next play. They go up 7-0. So again, not a great start, obviously, but then to make it worse, a compounded mistake. The next play after the kickoff, Cooper Rush throws a pick. So, he wasn't great in this game, no doubt. He threw 3 picks. This was his first one, and it sets him up with an easy field. They get the ball at our 44-yard line. So again, this is what I'm talking about, average field position. Another drive starting at the 44. For this one, 7 plays, 44 yards, 4 minutes off the clock, another touchdown. Again, it's a run, it's a run, it's a run, it's another run, it's another run. It's 6 straight runs to start off the drive. They go all the way down to our 14-yard line. And then from 3rd and 3 to our 15, so another third down, they get a 15-yard touchdown. And it's this play that they're doing where it's like an RPO, but at the same time, it's a guy coming in motion across the quarterback's face, and they did a good job on Micah because what they did, they just didn't block him, and they made him make a decision. Now, at the same time, I don't think there's much that he could do on a lot of those. You got to account for the running back taking the ball. You got to account for Hurts not giving the ball and possibly running with it, and there's a guy coming across your face, which seemed like our guys in secondary just kept losing them or just weren't keeping track of them when they were doing their motion, because that's not Micah's guy. He's not covering, it was A.J. Brown on this specific play and a couple times throughout the game. And that's not his guy. There's no reason for him, because if he follows that guy out into the flat, then Jalen Hurts has a wide open lane just to run the ball. So I don't know what was going on in the secondary. I don't know who was covering him. I think it was Jordan Lewis for most of the game. But it just seemed to lose him when he would do motion, and it was opening up wide open plays because Micah's not covering him. They're sending the guy on that right side all the way out to clear that part of the field. So there's no one covering him. So you give him the ball just wide open. He has plenty of space to work with, and like I said, he gets a 15-yard touchdown. So 14-0 early, quick. In two drives, it's already 14-0 now, and you really got to get going at this point. At this time, I didn't have a lot of faith in this team to come down and get points. They didn't look good. Nothing. People were covered. Even though I don't even know if Cooper Rush did get sacked. I think maybe he got sacked once. He didn't even get sacked. But there's a lot of hits on him, a lot of pressures. There was people in his face all the time. So even though he didn't get sacked, there was definitely a lot of traffic in that pocket. And on the next drive, we had the ball at 25. It's 4th and 1 at a 34-yard line, and it's really the play before, though. So it's 3rd and 9. CeeDee Lamb gets a catch from Cooper Rush for 8 yards, and on TV, he's getting tackled, and then you just see him just stick the ball out and place it right on the first down marker. And it was tough to see because the way the angle was on TV, he was getting tackled from that side. So on the other side of the field, you could clearly see if he was down or not. From the TV angle, you couldn't see it, but you see someone stick out the ball like that, and it at least gives you at least think that he gets the first down. And this is a bad part on the officials and on the coaching staff. So the officials, they originally marked it as a first down from the view of not being blocked by the tackle, the view where you could see if his knee was down or if an elbow was down, whatever was down, and then the ball hit. They saw on that side of the field, they marked it a first down. And then on the side where you couldn't see, you just could see the ball randomly stick out, they marked it just short. And for some reason, the person who could clearly see the play, that official, she went with the other guy's mark of where he was down. So I don't know if that's a seniority thing, if that guy has the call. I don't know what it is. I would assume if you could clearly see that he got the first down and he wasn't down, I would assume you go with that call. But they mark him short. We decided to go fast. I'm not really sure why. I guess we just didn't want them to sub because we were 4th and 1. You think just, on 3rd and 9, they don't have their big guys on the field. So go quick, 3rd and 9, no sub. Try and sneak one up the middle. But on the replays, and it was talked about in the post-game presser, but on the replays, you could see that he clearly got that first down. He was not down. He was kind of like Superman in the, a little bit above the ground, but you could clearly see he wasn't down. No knee, no leg, no elbow, nothing. And he got the first down. And we didn't challenge it. Again, we went fast. I'm assuming for that reason, if they didn't have their big guys on the field, just sneak one up the middle. And the reason McCarthy didn't challenge it, and this was talked about after the game, but he said that the official who was on that sideline, or at least the head official, whoever it was, they told him that, we have him marked down. And usually when the official, this was McCarthy's words, but he said usually when the official tells that to him, it means that they're not changing their call. So I don't know if, I guess that was the reason why he didn't challenge it, but at the same time, you get that clearer view of him clearly getting the first down. So I'm not really sure what happened. Again, they were going fast. If they didn't go fast, then they probably would have challenged it because they have more time. You can kind of think about it, and then you could challenge it. But they decided to go fast, try and catch him off guard, and they actually go pass. They don't go run, which surprised me because then what was the point of going fast if you wanted their big guys to stay on the sideline, and they don't get it. So we turn it over at a 34-yard line. Big, it's a huge, it's 14-0. You need points there. That's a first down right there. Instead, you have to go for it on your own, clearly your own side of the ball or own side of the field at your 34-yard line. You don't get it. You give them great field position to guarantee 3 points at least. And it was just a big point of the game. Like, that's where maybe if you get points there, it's like, all right, it's 14-3. Maybe it's 14-7. But if anything, 14-3. Your defense does get a stop. Maybe your offense gets better field position. A lot of things can happen after that. But that didn't happen clearly. And, they really didn't do anything on their drive when they got the ball at the 34-yard line. They only got 1 yard. But like I said, it was a guaranteed 3 points. So they do go up 17-0. Next drive, we pick up a first down on a Pollard 15-yard run. And then 3rd and 9, Cooper Rush I'm pretty sure he got pressured out of the pocket, but he ran to his right, tried to hit Gallup on the run, and Gallup probably was open if he led him a little bit more. He kind of threw it a little bit behind him. It gets tipped in the air, and then Darius Slay picks it off. So second pick of the night was right there. Again, that happened at our 46-yard line, so starting again that's 3 straight drives on our side of the field that they're starting on. And yeah, 17. I mean, at that point, I was like, this game's over. There's no way they're probably getting points here. if not a touchdown. And this offense looks so inept right now. That was like our first down of the game on that drive. Like there was just no way we were going to come back. So on their drive, they do get it all the way down to our 16-yard line. But it's 4th and 6. They get a field goal, so 17-0, or 17-0 turns into 20-0 now. And now with a minute 35 left, you just need points. You just need any type of points. And obviously you're looking field goal at that little time. I think we already used 2 timeouts as well. So we go incompletion, then 11 yards, 9 yards, incompletion deep. That was like one of our couple deep balls that we tried. That was the Gallup. Then Zeke for 9 yards. So that was on 3rd and 1. He went 9 yards. Then Cooper Rush, so we get all the way to their 21-yard line. And Cooper Rush has a great throw to Noah Brown in the back left corner of the end zone. And I thought he caught it. I mean, he did catch it, but it looked like he stayed in bounds. I called it a touchdown on the field, but you could clearly see on the replay, he got like a foot in, but then he landed out of bounds. So he didn't stay in for the touchdown. It would have been a great catch, but so that was turned back. Again, that if that was a touchdown, think about that. That's 7 points. Get it to 20-7, basically going into half. You feel a lot better about yourself, 20-7, going into half. You're like, all right, we got basically dominated in that first half. The offense looked terrible. They had great field position the entire time, and we're only down 13 points. You have to feel so happy about that. But like I said, it wasn't a touchdown. We go incompletion on 2nd and 10, incompletion on 3rd and 10. So we have to settle for a field goal, which that's really all I wanted was points. At least get something, get some confidence, some momentum in the team. So that basically took us to halftime. It was like 30 seconds left. They just ran a play, then went to halftime. So 20-3 going into half. They get the ball, start of the second half. They actually punt. We go 3 and out. And that was big because the defense was on the field for, like I said, basically the entire first half. I mean, they had a couple big drives on that first. They had 4-minute drive, a 7-minute drive. I guess the two times they got the field goals, it was a minute 30 and 3:30. So, and even the first drive of the game where they punted, it was still a 2-minute 30-second drive. So they were on the field for a lot of that first half. So to get a 3 and out just like that, right at the half where they're up 20-3, they're getting the ball back. You're thinking if they score here, this game is for sure over. But we stop them, get the ball back at our 21-yard line, and this is where Turpin had a good return. He was great in this game, to be honest. He had a couple taken back because of penalties. Kelvin Joseph had 2. I think it was both of them were on big punt/kick returns. On this punt return, he had a 15-yard return. So he picked it up at the 6 and got it all the way to the 21. I mean, if we're starting at our 6-yard line, that's probably another punt, to be fair. But we get to the 21, so at least we're somewhat normal, in terms of field position. So we go 2-yard run, 9-yard pass, 8-yard run. Then we get 3-yard run. Then it's 1st and 10 at our 43-yard line. We get a 10-yard pass, 22-yard pass, 5-yard run, 6-yard run. So we're all the way down to the 14-yard line. This is where the offense looked good. It actually did. We used our tight ends. A lot of these catches, if not all of them, were to our tight ends. Ferguson had a great game. I'll talk about it later, but he had a really good game. There was no Dalton Schultz in this one, so it was down to Ferguson and Hendershot. And that's probably the way we should play. Like, Schultz is good, no doubt, but with the 2 tight ends set, we run the ball a lot better, and they're actually pretty decent in the pass game, especially Ferguson. He's actually pretty good in space. Later I'll talk about it a little bit more, but so we're 1st and 10 at their 14-yard line, and again, this is where the run game really started to pick up. It was, we were good in the first half for what it was when we did run it. It wasn't a lot of plays, but this is where the run game started to pick up. It was on this drive. We already got some good runs. And on this one, it was the double teams that were working. Chris Collinsworth pointed out on the broadcast, but when we were double teaming their defensive line, it allowed us to move up to that second level and allowed at least a gap in a lane for our running backs to go through and then make a decision and make a play. So on this, we had, the right side of the offensive line just opened up. Zeke hit it and then bounced all the way to the left side. It was a good run to see him do, and he had a pretty good game in this one. I think he was just to tell you the stat, but he was 13 of 81. Like, that's a really good game for him. For 13 carries, he's averaging 6 yards a carry. He got the touchdown, like I just said on this play. He looked really good, and he's almost always good against Philly. He always has good games against them. But he's been pretty solid, man. I mean, like, he's not going to do the 120, 130 anymore. I mean, unless he's just, hot and they're up big. And especially with now him kind of splitting carries with Pollard. I mean, Pollard had 11 carries, so it's basically being split. Zeke, his highest is probably going to be like 90, so, and he's never going to bust a big run. I mean, the touchdown was his longest run, 14. That's probably his max. It'll be tough for him to get like a 20-yard run, but, that's a really solid game from him. So we get the touchdown there. So we get it all the way. So 20-3.5, now 20-10. And now you see it's like, well, if we get another stop, and maybe get better field position, we do have a chance, maybe a chance. With the way the offense looked on that drive, it's like if we can keep doing that, then we may have a chance. So we get the touchdown, and then they basically go 3 and out. They pick up one first down because of an unsportsmanlike penalty on Micah Parsons. It was kind of so-so. I mean, he made a big play, a big pass, breakup. And it would have been 3rd and 10 from their 30-yard line, but they get him for taunting or whatever, so he gets 15 yards on that. But then we do on that, just the next set of plays, they basically go 3 and out. Like I said, we did get a sack. Fowler had a 12-yard sack. I think we sacked Jalen Hurts 4 times, so that was pretty good. They have a decent offensive line. They had Mailata back at left tackle as well. Lane Johnson did have a concussion in this one, and that's kind of where the defensive line started to pick it up, is when he went out, so we could attack that right tackle, and that would open up, if they did double or chip on that side, it would open up the lane for other guys. So that's kind of where the defensive line started to play better. And the second half, for some reason, the Eagles decided to go more passing and then running, like I was talking about earlier, but, their offense is running the ball, and then you pass it, and you play the pass off the run. So for some reason in the second half, they wanted to throw the ball more. They really weren't running it or doing the RPOs that they were doing. They wanted to go like traditional drop back pass, and it was good for us because it allowed us back in the game, because they're not that type of team. Even though Hurts may put up a lot of numbers in the air and the receivers might have good numbers, it's because of the run. That's what sets them up. So when they go drop back, 5-step drop, 7, drop, it's just that's not how they play football. He's not that type of quarterback. So it was good that they were doing it for us, because it allowed us to come back. Our pass rushers could actually get at him, and they weren't tricking us with anything they were doing pre-snap. So we get them to punt. Again, this is where Turpin had a great return. He returned to 34 yards, but he gets called back because of a holding. So instead of being at our 40-yard line, we started our 14-yard line. I mean, that's a huge play right there. In the end, it didn't matter, because on this next drive, we did score a touchdown. But, I mean, if you start at the 40-yard line, I mean, it allows the offense to be way more open and way more efficient. You could run the ball more. You could and then play the pass off that, especially with the way the drive before worked. So we did go 15 plays, 93 yards for a touchdown, 7 minutes off the clock, and it started 8-yard run from Zeke for 6 yards, a Gallup pass for 9 yards, incompletion to Ferguson on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, Zeke for 6 yards, Pollard for 1 yard, Lamb for 13, Pollard for 3, Noah Brown for 10. Like, these are just really good plays. It's not huge plays down the field. It's not 20-plus yards, but it's just good chunk plays. 8 to 12 yards. That's exactly what we need. Lamb gets a 16-yard pass. Then we're 2nd and 9 at their 19-yard line. And Hendershot gets an illegal motion, so we're 2nd and 14. And I'll talk about the penalties after, but that was not a good part of this game. That was a reason why we did lose this game, was because of the penalties. But Zeke goes 12 yards on 2nd and 14. Then Ferguson gets a 4-yard catch, and then this is where Ferguson got his touchdown. The next play, just open in kind of like the flat, to be honest, on the right side. Makes a great play in space. Again, this is what I was talking about. Get him in space with the ball. He can make plays. He's got good hands on him. He just jukes the defender, kind of makes him miss, makes another guy miss, and then gets in the end zone. So at this point, 2017, there's the fourth quarter just started. It's 14:30 left in the fourth quarter. I mean, I was so down on them in the first half and how they were playing. I had no chance that they were going to come back in this game, especially with the way the offense looked. I mean, I wasn't really concerned about the defense. It was more just the offense. We couldn't move the ball. So to see a drive like that, it's just encouraging knowing that our starting quarterback isn't in there and we're coming back down 20-0 on the road Sunday Night Football against division rival and a team that's undefeated, who played a lot better than us. It's really good to see. But this next drive was the most important drive of the game, and it's the one that did put us down, and what allowed us not to come back in this game. But they finally went back to running the ball, which they should have been doing from the start. I mean, they were leading by 20-3, so I really don't know why they weren't. But they went back to running the ball. On 13, they won a 13-play, 75-yard drive, 7.5 minutes off the clock. And on the 13 plays, 11 of them were runs, 2 of them were passes, and the final pass of that drive was a touchdown to Devonta Smith for 7 yards. So that's where the defense needed to make one stop. The Eagles on this drive converted 3 straight third downs, which was huge. It was 3rd and 4. Hurts had a 5-yard run. 3rd and 4 again at our 45-yard line. They had a 5-yard run, and then 3rd and 1 at our 31-yard line. And this is where they did that thing where they just pile up Jalen Hurts and they just push him through. So you got 2 yards on that. And that was the difference. Those third downs in this drive and them going back to the run, that's what decided the game. If they'd been doing that from the start of the second half, maybe we would not have even had a chance because they would have taken more time off the clock. They were getting yards on the ground. Even though it was only 3.5, they were still at least moving it, and you have to respect their run because it is good. So, they kind of gave us some false hope, I guess. But like I said, they did get that touchdown. They went for 2 because on the extra point we had an offsides. Because on the touchdown, Diggs slammed his helmet, got a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. They decided to use it for the 2-point conversion, which I don't really know why they did that. Again, you only move it up a yard. Does 2 yards to 1 yard really make that much of a difference? Especially, I believe they passed it. They did. I think they ran it. I don't know. I can't remember. But does it really make that much of a difference? I don't think it does. I would rather use it on the kickoff because Turpin was doing really well on kickoffs. For some reason, they decided to keep kicking it to him. They weren't just kicking it out of bounds. And you use it on the kickoff, you're closer, you could pop it up in the air, and then you're most likely getting tackled inside the 20. So not sure exactly why they did that, but they decided to do it. They didn't get it. So it's 26-17 with 7 minutes left on the clock. And this was, I guess, technically the second most important drive of the game. If we put together, after these last 2 really amazing drives, we could put it together, another one with the running game and working the play action. That's what was really doing it, was the play action on those 2 touchdown drives for us. That's why the tight ends were getting so many balls. So we go 2-yard run, 11-yard run from Zeke, a 2-yard run again. So we're 2nd and 8 or 40-yard line. So again, we're moving the ball. It's already 15 yards right there. But Cooper Rush has Lamb wide open, and this was the one time where the pressure from Philly did impact the play, and it was Brandon Graham coming off the right side. Just got like a piece of him, or just hit him a little bit. He couldn't follow through on his throw. Lamb was wide open. It was rather a touchdown or like a 50-yard play. There was no one near him. He burnt the corner. The safety was in the middle of the field, but he just got hit just enough to where it was wobbly and it came out short, and they did pick it off. The safety, because it wobbled in the air and everything like that, he had time to come over and he did make a play. If he would have hit him, though, again, it was most likely a touchdown. All you had to do was just hit him. As long as he didn't underthrow it by 5 yards, it was a touchdown because there was no one even near him. And then that was the game right there. So they punt it. We got the ball back. We got some yards. Again, 26-17. You have the option of field goal, onside kick, touchdown, or if you can get the touchdown, then go onside kick and then you see a field goal. But so we got all the way down to their 41-yard line, and we had to kick a 59-yard field goal. We missed it, and then obviously, at that point the game's over. There was a minute left, down a full score, but technically 2 scores, and yeah, they just ended the game. It's it was like I said, it was encouraging to see them come and fight back all the way down from 20-0 to make it 26-17 and at one point 20-17. And technically, you still had a shot if you make that field goal, get the onside kick, which we have seen in the past, and we've even seen it so far this season with the Jets getting an onside kick. So it was possible. But in the end, they did play better than us. We made mistakes. They really didn't. They had no turnovers. We had 3. We had penalties that killed us on kickoff returns, punt returns, and on defense. Again, the Dante Fowler one, that was 4 points right there. So a lot of mistakes on our part is what caused this loss. Just to say the penalties, we had 10 for 72 yards. They had 2 for 10 yards. That's the difference in the game right there. You can't make that many, and the turnovers obviously, but it was just the timing of the penalties are the worst. You just can't do. I don't even know if we had a holding call. Maybe we had one holding call, which is usually what does this in, because it's 10 yards. It almost always happens on a big play. So instead of going from our 25-yard line up to maybe midfield, we'd be at our 15-yard line, 1st and 20. So I don't really remember that happening, maybe once, but it was just the timing of the penalties that were killing us. And again, it happened on big plays. The punt and kick returns were big. But even though it's a loss, and I didn't. I mean, obviously, I hoped that we were going to win this game. My hopes weren't so high because it is on the road, and Philly right now is probably a little bit better than us. And there had to have been one game where Cooper Rush did not play well. He finished 18 of 38 for 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. He hadn't turned the ball over in any of his starts. He hadn't really made many bad throws, any huge mistakes, and in this one he just did. Again, the one to Lamb, where if he doesn't get hit or if he can follow through on that, it's at least a big completion, if not a touchdown. The 3 picks, just a lot of things that hadn't been going wrong the last couple of weeks went wrong. The penalties again picked up. We hadn't had that many penalties in a while, so it just wasn't a good game overall. But even in then, you could see the light at the end of this game, which was Dak's going to be back for next week, and he's going to be back for the rest of the season. And that's what you need. You need your starting QB, your QB1 back in there. And going forward now, again, Lions, Bears, bye. Then you play the Packers and the Vikings after that. This is where you got to get these 2 wins here. If you go into that bye week 6-2 with Dak now having 2 games under him, the offense is going to be better. The defense is still as good as it is. And then you have that bye week. I mean, that's all you can really ask for. If Philly stays undefeated and they have a pretty easy schedule going forward, they play this. They're going to bye this week. Then they play the Steelers, the Texans, Washington, the Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears. Then they play us again, then the Saints, and then the Giants again. I mean, they're probably going to win a majority of those games. They'll maybe lose 2 of those games going forward, maybe 3 if something happens. But they're going to win a lot of those games. They're better than a lot of those teams. And, we'll see what happens with like maybe the Packers, the Colts. That's still in like a month. So maybe they get better by then, but who really knows? It's, if they go 15-2 or 14-3 and win the division, there's not really much you could do about that. I mean, there's really no one in the NFL who's going to have that good of a record. Maybe I would say probably the Bills are probably the only other team who would have that good of a record in the rest of the NFL. So if you lose this division, because if a team went 14-3 and we went, I would say we're probably winning at least 11 games, maybe 12. You go 11-6 or 12-5. You can't really complain. I mean, they just had a really good season. Obviously, if we won this game, maybe things could have been different. But to be 4-2 right now, I'm happy. You go 5 games without your starting quarterback, and to be 4-1 in those games against some pretty solid teams in that span of games, and then to get them back for 2 easier games. Now you still got to win them. You still got to play good. The penalties got to go down. The turnovers got to go down. I think I think the thing that helps is that the Lions defense is terrible, and we should be able to expose them for that. Their offense should be getting Swift back for this game. They just came off a bye as well. It seems like he'll be back for this game. I haven't seen anything yet official, but it looks like he will be. So that's a big add for them because he is a big part of that offense. Their offense can score points and move the ball, but with Jared Goff at quarterback and our defense, I feel confident, to just get to him, get to the passer, make life difficult for him, make him make mistakes, which he's very prone to, as we saw with that New England game. couple weeks ago. They lost 29-0, and it was because they forced him to make mistakes. I think he had a fumble that was returned. I think he had a couple picks. He was making bad throws. We could easily do that. As long as we go back to what we were doing the first 4 games of Cooper Rush, and then obviously Dak replaces him, I feel confident. I'm not worried at all. Even though I was upset that we did lose the game, I still saw the bright side of it in that we're still 4-2. I know that we're still probably one of the best teams in the NFC, and our starting quarterback's coming back. So just win these next 2 games, go into the bye week 6-2. Everything will play how it's supposed to play out, and that's really all. We'll see what Philly does. We don't really have to worry about them for a while, but and the Giants are 5-1, but we did already beat them, and to be honest, they're not as good as us, not even close. They are beating, they beat Baltimore, which is a good win, but for some reason they're somehow pulling these games out. I don't really know how, but we'll face them on Thanksgiving. I'm confident that we'll beat them. But that's it for this episode. I'll be back next week. Again, we play the Lions, so we'll talk about that next week after the game. Should be a win. We'll see, though. Still got to play the game. But thanks for watching, and check out other videos on this channel as well, which will be the NFL preview and recap videos for each week, and then obviously the Cowboys videos as well. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.